Hello friends, this is Odds, although I'm not sure this is my final form yet, and today I want to continue my efforts towards building a world where your solo queue survivor teammates are actually useful and help you escape. And yeah, it's a very ambitious dream, but I think I can help achieve it. Today we're going to be focusing on 4 very common survivor perks: a teachable perk from Meg called Sprint Burst, a teachable perk from Claudette named Self-Care, a teachable perk from Nia called Urban Evasion, as well as the common survivor perk that everybody has access to called Spine Chill. Some of these perks are used at higher level, but they're all very popular amongst beginners. And the issue with these perks is that despite them having relative value and being relatively useful, they are absolute traps. If not used correctly, they can absolutely be 100% counterproductive. And what I mean by counterproductive, I mean it will get you killed, and by extension, probably also every single one of your teammates. I'm going to teach you exactly what they're good at, exactly how you should be using them, but also, more importantly, how you should not be using them. Hopefully, by the time this video is over, you will learn why self-care isn't always the best idea, and you can maybe show it to your friends who are not in the know, and I'll do my best to make the information as quick and as visual as I humanly can. Let's get on with the demonstrations, and we'll go by these perks one by one. Alright, there's a lot to unpack, but again, for the sake of accessibility, I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. We're going to begin with Urban Evasion. Urban Evasion essentially doubles your crouching movement speed. It actually is the case that your crouching speed is half of that of your walk speed, so Urban Evasion makes you crouch and move as fast as you would if you were standing still. There are some situations where this spec can be directly impactful in your ability to dodge the killer. If you're playing against a pyramid head who can place down trails on the ground that torment you and let him kill you faster, you can actually go through them without triggering them a little bit faster with Urban Evasion, which is really convenient because if you're not crouching, you actually will be affected by this trail. We have a similar case against the Hag. She can place down these traps that will be triggered unless you're crouched. So you can crouch and get through them faster, which is convenient, and sometimes you'll have to do it because if you do not crouch, they will trigger. There's also the killers that need a direct line of sight with you to shoot you with their projectile weapons, including Deathslinger, the Plague, and more commonly the Hunters. With these killers, you can crouch in loops that are medium height and still be able to be somewhat fast and stay moving around side to side on the loop to avoid them and not let them catch up while you avoid the projectile. This also extends to killers that can stalk you and need to see a portion of your body to grow their power, such as Ghostface or the Shape, Michael Myers. You can dodge these killers in a loop and make it a little bit harder for them to stalk you while you crouch occasionally with Urban Evasion. On top of this, there's also the occasional time where a killer is looking for you, again in a medium height loop, and you can crouch around and move faster than they normally would expect, and it might fool them into thinking that you're not there. Be careful though. This will not work if the killer gets very close to you. They can hear your breathing. They can also hear grass or even see grass as you move it. So this will only work if the killer is not paying a lot of attention or if they're not very close to you. These are the situations where Urban Evasion really comes in handy. Any other time, using Urban Evasion is a waste of your time. You could just be walking and you probably would see better with the higher FOB, or you could just be running if the killer's not around you. Do not use this perk just for the sake of using this perk and feeling safe. You do not go any faster than walking, you go at the exact same speed. If you want to walk faster and save and not leave scratch marks, or even be more aware of your scratch marks, you can try running the perk Fixated from Nancy, which is probably a lot better than this. Now, do survivors often use Urban Evasion like this? No. Instead of looking at the HUD to see if someone just took a hit, or if to see if the Obsession, which has these little graphics, the Obsession tentacles are on them, to see if the Obsession is being chased, or to even look around them, instead of doing any of that, they just think to themselves, is the killer on me? No, then I'm in danger, I must crouch. Oh, what's that? A killer, one of my teammates is on the hook, one of my teammates is being chased, it doesn't matter, I must crouch. Do not have that mentality, it will get you and your teammates killed. If you know what is happening, then do not be passive. Instead, have the initiative, do generators, go straight to whoever needs saving, etc, etc. The next perk is Sprint Burst. Sprint Burst activates when you begin to run, and that is exactly what makes this perk so dangerous in the hands of somebody new. Just like with Urban Evasion, it is a really, really bad idea to try to save this perk by walking everywhere. I'm sure you've seen many megs, beginner megs, who just walk everywhere and spend millions of hours getting from generator to generator just because they're trying to save this perk for the right opportunity that never comes. If your teammates all die, there will be no right opportunity. Sprint Burst is a very, very fine perk. It's a very, very strong perk. It really pays off to learn how to use it. At the start of the match, if you spawn right next to a generator, you can begin to do it. And that's okay. You can walk a little bit and do the generator, or do a totem, or whatever it is you're doing near your spawn. If not, do not be afraid to immediately run to one of those objectives and start doing them. Obviously, don't run straight where you think the killer may be, and don't keep running forever until you have more situational awareness, but do not be afraid to just spread out from your teammates and find an objective quick. That time that this perk saves you is also very, very powerful. Just being able to go from objective to objective, from hook to generator, from generator to exit gate faster is also very, very powerful. You don't need to use this perk always in chase. While you are spending time on generators, healing people, unhooking, you will have time to recover that exhaustion and use Sprint Burst again when the killer is onto you. One advanced thing that you can try to pull off is to keep an eye on your exhaustion and try to 99 it. This is what people refer to as 99 in your Sprint Burst or 99 in your exhaustion. How it works is basically when your exhaustion is about to come back, when it's on that little 1% left, you begin to run to run into the killer or to do something risky in front of him. And if the killer then decides to come to you and chase you, you can let go of sprinting, pause for like a second, and then immediately use your Sprint Burst to gain a lot of distance on them. Use it like this. Do not have a passive attitude. And don't try to save it the entire match. And Sprint Burst is one of the strongest perks in the game for Survivor. Next up, Self-Care, one of the more controversial perks. This perk has gone many changes, and it used to be extremely broken. You could heal yourself. By the time the killer broke a couple pallets during chase, you could heal yourself with Self-Care. So you're going to find a lot of conflicting advice and outdated guides that will make you think Self-Care is amazing. It really is not. Self-Care allows you to heal yourself at half the rate of a normal heal. A normal heal from another survivor is 16 seconds. A normal heal that you perform on yourself from even a brown medkit is also 16 seconds. So Self-Care is half of that. Now, understandably, having two survivors doing the healing action wastes the time of two survivors. So you might think to yourself, me healing myself at half the rate is not so bad. Plus, I get to do it infinitely with Self-Care because it's no limit, unlike a medkit which has charges, right? Realistically, you're not going to heal yourself that many times in a match. So having a medkit with, say, a gel dressing, this gives you 2 heals, which is perfectly good. You can also use other add-ons and perks to extend that. So a medkit is, by all means, way superior to Self-Care. Now, why is Self-Care a thing then? Is there any use to it? Yes. It mainly comes in 2 ways. By knowing when it is okay to spend that extra 50% time, and which is actually double the time, to know when it is okay to spend the time and to use other perks to make it better. If your team is doing very well and time is on your side, it is absolutely okay to take all the time in the world to use Self-Care. What are some examples of this situation? The exit gates are open, but you are injured, and you are afraid that if you walk, the killer's going to hit you and down you and pick you up and you're dead. In this situation, perfectly okay to hide in a corner of the map, take your time to Self-Care, which again will take you 32 seconds. And then when you're all patched up, go through the exit gates. If you yourself have been in danger, if you are on your death hook, that means next time the killer catches you, you're dead. But your teammates are doing very well, they haven't been hooked or maybe only hooked once, then it is okay to heal yourself and take that extra time. Because your teammates can take the heat, they can do gens, they can be chased, and they will not die very quickly. And you are the weak link in the chain for the team. If you go down, then it's 3v1, so it's understandable that you might take a little bit of extra time to heal yourself with self-care, even if it takes a while. In that situation, it's totally okay. If you are dead on hook, but your teammates are also dead on hook and they're also all dying, then try to take the initiative and do not bother healing yourself for a very, very, very long time. Because it doesn't matter if you heal yourself and that results in them dying. It doesn't matter that you're healed, you're going to die as well because you're the last survivor. You probably won't be able to get hedged. So look out for your teams and try to think as a team, not just for yourself. Also, take into consideration how quickly the killer can get you injured. There are some killers that can force injury very, very quickly, namely Legion. If you're going against a Legion, better be comfortable being injured because they can undo your 40 or 30 seconds of healing very quickly with just a tap. So against killers like that, be comfortable being injured. Do not try to force self-care, again, unless you really, really need to make a move. Again, there is a second alternative, which is to make self-care faster with other perks. Bodily Knowledge, which also comes from Claudette, will make your normal 32 seconds now drop to 24 seconds. And if you hit a couple skill checks, that can actually be very reasonable. Healing yourself in 24 seconds, perfectly good. Plus, Bodily Knowledge also helps you heal other people faster. So Bodily Knowledge and self-care is actually a very fair combination. Again, bringing a medkit would probably be better, but if you want to bring another item and bring those two perks together, Botany and self-care are perfectly a-okay. Another perk that is almost as good, if not as good in some situations, is Desperate Measures, a teachable perk from Felix, which is one of the newer characters. If you're injured yourself, that means you get 1 stack of Desperate Measures, so you'll have 14% quicker healing. And then if you wait for 1 or 2 of your teammates, or all 3 of them, to be injured, and realistically, that's when you want to heal. You don't want to heal when you're the only person injured. You don't want to heal unless it's really necessary, right? Every time you take a hit, you heal. You want to pressure generators. We made a whole video talking about how important it is to focus on objectives right there if you want to check it out. But yeah, you want to focus on objectives. But if the team starts to fail, if one of them is on the hook, one of them is injured, then Desperate Measures can make self-care heal you very, very quickly in something above 20 seconds, depending on the stacks. So it can be also a very viable complementary perk to self-care. In these situations, self-care can be okay. In other situations, please refrain from using it too liberally. If every time you take an injury from a good killer, you start to self-care, you will constantly never be fully healed, never be working on generators, and God forbid the killer has Sloppy Butcher or some add-on to inflict Mangled. If this occurs, you will now heal not at 32, but at 40 seconds. And even if you hit a couple skill checks, it's still a very long time. That's 40 seconds of you healing, doing nothing for the team. And God forbid you actually get interrupted by the killer right before you finish healing, you will have wasted a ton of time with absolutely nothing to show for it. So for that reason, it is very, very risky to run self-care when the killer can stop you or delay you further with such status effects. Use your brain when using self-care. Think about the rule of thumb is my team doing good? Yes, good time to self-care. Do I absolutely need to be healed to save my teammates? If so, use self-care. Any other time, if the time is not on your side, don't use or prioritize generators. Next up, we're going to jump on to Spine Chill. Now, Spine Chill is an amazing perk. It has 2 components to it. The first one is an information component. It gives you an information where the killer's looking at you. The killers have a cone in front of them that extends 36 meters. And anytime they look at you, without any cooldown or anything like that, within 36 meters, you will see this perk light up in the HUD. So you need to keep an eye on it. Anytime they look away from you or they're too far, this perk will light off. So it gives you information on when the killer is looking at you. And it also gives you an increased likelihood of getting a skill check, and also gives you an action speed on everything you do of 16%, a bonus on your action speed. The 6% bonus is actually super nice. If you're being chased by the killer and you vault a pallet, you'll do it faster. You vault a window, you'll do it faster. You're finishing a heal or a generator or open an execute, you'll do it faster. It's great. That part is amazing. You cannot go wrong with it. The problem is how you use the information from Spine Chill. And here's where many survivors go wrong. They see Spine Chill light up for 1.2 seconds and they immediately go in a corner and cry and need therapy until they know that the killer is completely far away. And even then, sometimes they just remain on that corner. You need to pay attention to the other cues in your environment. If you see one of your teammates is being chased because you look at the HUD, or because you see them far away, or because you have a perk to see people from far away, like Empathy from Claudette, then use all of that information as well as what you hear in conjunction with Spine Chill. If you see that Spine Chill lights up and stays lit up, and you hear an increasingly loud terror radius, the killer's coming right at you, time to look for the closest window, pallet, source of safety. If you see that it lights up on and off, and you hear a distant terror radius, the killer's probably looping somewhere around you, and that's why you see it go on and off, because they're going in circles and they're not getting any closer to you. Probably a good idea to stay on that generator. You're probably safe, but do pay attention to it. There is a trick that killers can do, which involves them looking at an angle to approach you without triggering Spine Chill, but especially at a beginner level, you're never going to see anybody pull this, so you really don't have to worry. See how long it stays on for and keep an eye on it. If it is a stealth killer, you might not hear a terror radius at all by the time they approach. So if you know that it's a pig or a ghost face, a Michael Myers in tier 1, any killer that has a small terror radius or no terror radius, or even normal killers with the perk Tinker or other perks that give them stealth capabilities, if you know that any of that is in play, you'll need to pay a little bit more attention and be a little bit more careful. Try to position yourself in a way that you can actually see, so that if Spine Chill goes off and it lights up, you can quickly check and see if you're safe, and never be grabbed or ambush attacked. And with that, I think I've gone over everything. This is my second time at recording this, and I've shaved off 5 minutes from it. It still took me 15 minutes to go over everything, but hopefully you found this useful and you see the utility and usefulness of these perks, but also where you can go wrong and what you should never do. Honestly, you could summarize all of these perks in one way. They do something good, but do not let that trick you into doing nothing and hiding for too long or being too passive. You need to be doing something as a survivor. Sometimes that something is doing the generator. Sometimes it's rescuing someone that needs to be saved. But for the most part, just hiding and avoiding the killer forever and just being in your own little world while everybody else gets massacred is it's seldom the right thing to do. So try to avoid that and you'll be a much better survivor, a much better teammate. And killers will have to think a little bit more next time they play against you in one of their lobbies if they don't want to get their ass kicked. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and you can send it to some friend of yours that's struggling to use one or all of these perks. I'll see you in the next one.